Alright YouTube, so welcome to Front End Refurb. I've just been filming for probably like 10 minutes. I haven't put my camera, my phone in airplane mode, so it's going to do that horrible beep 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 beep. So yeah, what a twat. Let me show you what I've done so far. So the front is up on axle stands now, whereas before it was just on ramps at the front. I've actually put the rear wheels back on, because I know some people were saying that the aftermarket controller, the aftermarket rear beam was narrower than the original, but to me it looks the same. I know there's a couple of different ones out there, so you have to make sure you get the wrong one, if that makes sense. So I think this is for a Type S, which should have the same track width. So it looks to be the same. I haven't loaded it down yet, so I'm not sure what it's going to do with the wheels on the ground. It's not got any spacers, but at a glance it looks about the same as what it did before. But don't quote me on that, I won't know for sure until I've dropped it on the ground, but I just thought I'd mention that. So it's actually a bit of a luxury for me, because I'm sitting at the back of the garage working on the front of the car. So as you can see, the front left lines up with the doorway into my workshop, so I've actually got a bit of space, rather than the horror that is working on the rear left where there's no space. So I've even got a nice little ladder to sit on. So yeah, this is very luxurious for me. So I've been looking at how to get off, I'm going to call the front hub. I don't know whether it's a hub as such, but the front unit, which the bearings in and the disc and everything connects to. I don't want to remove any ball joints. I've decided that straight away. So we've got a ball joint on the track rod, so I should be leaving that and undoing over here. We've got another ball joint on the control arm down there, so I'll leave that. I'm going to undo the control arm from over there. I need to do that, I need to poly bush that anyway, and I'll be disconnecting down there because I've got to poly bush that one as well. So yeah, leave the control arm attached. I'm going to undo these two bolts, and hopefully the drive shaft will come out as well, and then I just have to disconnect the calipers and hang them up there somewhere out the way, and hopefully that I can get the control arm and hub all as one assembly to come out. I obviously have to disconnect like ABS sensors and things. So that's the plan. Whether it's the right plan or not is another thing, but yeah, at least I got a plan, I suppose. So today, well, before I say what I'm gonna do, I've been looking at my drive shaft. I know I can't see underneath this rubber balancer damper thing, because I know that's where they rust. But the rest of it looks really tidy. So whether they've been changed before or whether it's just in good condition anyway, I've got this clip off here. I've been trying to slide it out of the way so I can check out the drive shaft. Maybe sort of, I don't know, grease it up, or I don't know, something to try and stop it rusting, or whether I can just remove the damper. I need to research to see whether it's going to cause any nasty vibrations, but I can't actually get it to move at the moment, so I'll leave it a bit longer, see if some of the lubricant will work its way in a bit more. If not, well, we'll see. I'll do a bit of research. So the plan for today is to remove various bits of plastic cover. There's one still under the engine, that's got to come off, and then I'm going to clean all the dirt off. So many broken clips later, the wheel arch liner is out on both sides, and the undertray, which I've just slid over down the back. You're going to need some replacement clips. You're always going to be breaking some no matter what. Luckily the screws and bolts came out alright. So I tend to use a technique where I'll turn it I'll undo it a little bit, tighten it, undo it a bit more, tighten it, undo it a bit more again, tighten it. Not sure whether that's coincidental, but it seems to work for me. Just try and stop things shearing off. So it could be a bit of pain if you've got a ratchet because you have to keep changing the direction on it, but it seems to work. Right, so I'm just disconnecting the ABS sensor plug up here. It's taken me a while to figure out how to undo this. But what you have to do, I won't be able to do this with one hand, but so what I've done, I've come in there and pulled the clip to the right, and then while I'm holding it, that clip to the right, I've got another screwdriver and come in underneath it. I'll just lever it away slightly. Now I'll do the same for the other side and it should come out. I've disconnected the ABS sensor. The little connectors that hold the cable to the car are a bit of a pain in the ass. I suppose this is designed really to only be taken off when you're replacing them, so it doesn't really matter if you break them, but there we are. You can see there's two parts of the clip that sort of open up on the other side of the hole, so you're trying to pinch them in and pull it out at the same time. So you can see that the bits that you've got to squeeze in are in line with the cable itself, and then you're kind of trying to pry it out at the same time, so you could do it with three hands like most things when you're working on a car. But yeah, I've disconnected them now. I managed to not break them, so they should plug back in, which is nice. And then I've just disconnected the other rubber bits, which are pretty obvious, and the other one down here, which you're able to actually help if I point the camera the right way. This clip down here, you're able to squeeze the inside of the clip. There we are, ABS cable disconnected. Right, progress update guys. I've freed this brake hose bracket, which was a 12mm bolt. Gave it a quick blast with flame and some penetrant, so it looks pretty rusty. I've loosened the top bolt here, so that was a 21 and 18. Now, strangely, the one below it was, each side was 1mm bigger, so we had a 22 and 19. It could be because I've already got a camber bolt, so maybe they're smaller than the original bolt that would have been there. So yeah, it looks like I've already got a camber bolt, so oh well, can't hurt putting a nice new one on. Not quite sure what this plate is for yet. I need to find that out because I can't see the equivalent on here. Now the bottom one I had to really heat up, it just would not budge. Got a pretty big breaker bar down there. Yeah, I hit that one with flame penetrant about 4 times. The 4th time I just blasted it for ages, just being careful not to catch the hose or the drive shaft boot below, and eventually it went. I was a bit worried I was going to snap it, but yeah, that was properly seized up or just properly torqued up, and probably a bit of both. So that's where we are so far. I can't quite figure out how to get this bolt out because I'm undoing it. Oh no, there's a bit of wobble there. Maybe I just need to give it a bit of a tap from this side to get it to come out. So I've leveled up on my instruction list. That's something special, that is. So on a serious note, in case you're wondering about these socks, they're actually available in all good clothing stores. I have undone this nut here, so this little rubber wheel comes off. It's exciting. I presume that's, I don't know, some kind of balancing thing, I don't know. Anyway, and then I'm not sure if we can see it, there's a tiny little drop link, whether it's much ready to for this unit to come off once I remove the caliper. I should have been able to get this unit off. Oh bloody hell. So rule number 1 of front end refurb is don't put your car on axle stands before you've loosened your drive shaft nut, because if you're like me where it takes about an hour to get it up. I'm working in quite a confined space, so it takes about an hour to get my car up on axle stands, and then just to suddenly have that realization that I haven't loosened the drive shaft nuts, and absolute nightmare. So it's taking about an hour. I've basically taken it back down. I've got all 4 wheels on blocks of wood. I started lowering the front. Actually, I was lifting the front up because I was going to put the front wheels on ramps. I have to get pretty high for that, and I was keep watching the rear axle stands, and I could see them starting to lift. So I just sort of decided I'll just drop the whole car down off axle stands. I can put it back up when I need to. So front left, it was a bit of a pain in the ass trying to open out. So you've got that little groove where when the nut gets fitted you squash it into that little groove so it won't undo itself. It's a bit of a pain in the ass to try and open that out, but once I did, I've got like a sort of 18-inch breaker bar, 36mm socket, and it come and done pretty easy. Now the front right, that's a different story. Okay, so we're over at the front right now. I could not get this bit of the nut to peel away out of this little groove, so I ended up taking the wheel back off and got a Dremel, and don't know whether you can see, I just cut away this bit here which was in that groove. So I kept putting the wheel back on and then trying to undo it with my breaker bar, and it would not budge. So I kept taking it off and thinking, oh, is there a bit more stuck still stopping it from turning? So I've cut quite a lot away to the stage where there can't be anything holding it back. So I ended up putting this, there's my breaker bar, goes up to about there. So then I've got probably, what's that, that's about 3 foot tube probably. And I was really pushed, I thought I was going to snap something, but it finally gave. So why the right one is just like done up by He-Man, I don't know, but yeah, I finally got it undone. So that's finally a win, but it's just taken me like 2 hours of struggling to get that one to undo. But there we are, it's off now, isn't it? Car is back up on axle stands. I have taken the brake caliper off, just got it resting on a block of wood. I haven't disconnected the hose yet. The disc is off. And I can't remember whether I've spoken about the drive shaft yet, because I bought some new drive shafts thinking these were going to be knackered. As you can see, I put a bit of tape to show where the dynamic damper over there should be. So I managed to slide it up and reveal the drive shaft. It looks pretty new. So either this FN2 has defied the laws of physics and not rusted, or it's got a pair of fairly new drive shafts either side. So yeah, happy days. Don't have to, well, unless I find out there's something else wrong, but currently it doesn't look like I have to do the drive shafts. So I've undone this. I just did it with my my DAC gun. So I figured if I snapped it, then I'll just get some new track rod ends. But yeah, it came off right. What was this? So my track rod end was a 19mm nut. It undid all right. I've just undone it, so it's sticking up higher than the actual sort of bolt bit itself. So I started knocking it with I put a piece of wood on it. I was hitting it with my little sledgehammer, but it was going nowhere, and the wood was just falling apart. So I ended up just tapping it straight on the nut, and yeah, it gave way eventually. It took, you know, a fair old tap, but it just wasn't budging. Make sure you just wind it out enough so that you're not hitting the threaded section of the bolt. I know I said I wasn't going to undo any ball joint, but I think this is probably the easiest way to go. At least with this one, if I knacker it up, this section isn't too expensive to buy a new one. As you can see, the hub is under the trolley jack. Just a couple of paint pots underneath the control arm. I've pulled all the bits off this side, so we got this little rubber thing. Let me put a light on it. This little rubber thing and a nut, and then we got this nice long bolt. It's a cracker. And then over here, the control arm bushing carrier. Got those two bolts out. So the furthest one from here, so the one nearest the engine, is a shorter bolt, and this one nearest me is the longer bolt. And they've had enough, they've just buggered off. I've undone this. Bit of a pain. This is I think it's one of those camber bolts, so you've got to have it exactly in the right sort of place to better get it out. I had to just use a little rubber mallet on the end and just keep turning it until it started moving out. I just plonked that back in while I was removing the other bolt, which is this chunky monkey. So took a bit of persuasion to come out again with the mallet, and then once the end of the bolt was sort of flush with air, I just had to put like a little extension on the end and just keep tapping it through until it popped out the other side. So yeah, I think the track rod is well and truly out. I think that's everything disconnected. I gave put a piece of wood over, wound the nut out so it's past the thread, and then put a piece of wood on that and just gave it a couple of whacks, and it sort of moved in. You see there's a little gap there now, so the drive shaft is loosened. So if you do this, you need to buy new drive shaft nuts, because you kind of butcher these trying to take them off. It's probably a good idea to remove them, to change them. I mean, it tends to tell you to change all the things, but I mean, who does that? But I suppose if you're following the rules, you'd be changing all the nuts and bolts. So I think I'm going to try and see if I can get it completely off now. So wish me luck. It was all going so well, at least it finished with a happy ending, and not the kind you're thinking of. So this track rod end was just, the nut was just spinning, because obviously the ball joint was spinning in there. So I managed to get a little trolley jack in this great big socket, just to put a load of tension, loads of pressure against the bottom of it, try and stop it spinning, and then it undid. So yeah, happy days. So I've got the right hand side off now. As we can see, sitting on my lap. You probably don't need to put a trolley jack underneath, I just held it. It's not too heavy. It's up to you really, depends if you're how you're feeling. So yeah, the rest of it came off alright. Have to try and get these off. Let's change the bushes, and I'll have to get over there with my bush removal tool to get that bush out. That's good. So I've got both of them off today. Just need to give these a good clean up. Not sure whether I'll bother cleaning this up, because I will be getting coilovers at some point pretty soon. May just give it a quick wire brush and just spray it with black paint. So these can't be as new as I thought, because that's quite rusty, although maybe that just rusts really quick. I just need to slide this up to have a look under this dynamic damper to see how the drive shaft's looking. Moving along nicely. So that's me done for today. I need to go and have a sit down. It's been a long day. So I've managed to get both the front hubs and control arms off. There they are. I've just been battling with the the dynamic damper, not on this side's alright. The one on the other side, just trying to get it to slide up, it really doesn't want to go. I've got it about half that distance, so I'll have to try again tomorrow or next week, but I think my thumbs need a break from trying to push that bloody thing up. So thanks for watching as always. I hope you like this episode. It's not the most exciting content in the world, but sort of necessary jobs really. I tried to make this a bit shorter, but I think it's still going to be about 15 minutes because sometimes they get about half an hour long, and even the most dedicated person is going to struggle sitting through that. So yeah, I haven't really filmed me like undoing stuff, just tried to do like the video version of bullet points, but hopefully you enjoy it and it's of use. Thanks to Danny at Dino Days for supporting the channel as always, and don't forget to go and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and don't forget to go and support the smaller channels. I'm going to try and name some because there's quite a few, so apologies if I miss you off. So we've got Robster VTech, FN2 Ops, Type R Tweaks, Yard Speed 13, Limitations. There's loads. There's some really good content out there, so yeah, go and subscribe to them. If you're not subscribed already, please consider subscribing. Hit that like button, chuck a comment in below, hit that notifications bell. It'd be cool to grow the channel, because the more subscribers and likes you get, the more likely you are to get given bits, and then you can make more content, or you might get monetized and be able to afford to buy more bits and make more content. So please consider liking and subscribing. That'd be really cool. So yeah, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.